Hi, good evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on when you're watching this. I'm Calamity Jane, and I just wanted to share a 3-month review of being managing type 1 diabetes while taking Zepbound to manage my weight loss. And so I'll give kind of a high level, I'll throw in some details where appropriate. The past 3 months, I've been somewhat hesitant to do this type of video only because while I think it's very important that we share our journeys, I have learned a lot from those who have shared theirs. And just as far as sort of, expectations and possibilities of what to expect on this journey. However, I'm always hesitant because I don't want to, I never want to suggest that what I am doing or what I say is the gospel on whether it's managing type 1 or working with Zepbound to support the weight loss process and things like that as a way to get the results in which I've been able to do thus far. So I just always want to be very mindful of that reality. And so this is just for me to get to know those of you who have chosen to subscribe and have supported me, to kind of let you know sort of a high level review of how things have been going. Some of the hens and stuff are in the back. Some are near the house. They're just kind of all over the place right now. It's kind of late to let them out this late, since it's so close to dusk, but we've been kind of busy today. And so this was an opportunity to let them out a little bit. So, like as stated, I've been a type 1 diabetic for over 30 years. My particular body habitus, and because, I had stopped, prior to my diagnosis of diabetes, I was, I'd involved in track and different things. But soon after that diagnosis, and whether it was because I just was hesitant on how to manage the type 1 diabetes, I was unsure how to manage lows and all those things. And, just the stuff you have to deal with at the time I was diagnosed. The treatment option I chose was the daily injections, and I was on a long-acting insulin and a fast-acting insulin at the time. And so, as a preteen into teen years, you just sort of, I had to I made the choice of what I focused on. My body habitus is not the typical of type 1 diabetics. Typically, they have a slender body habitus. I am one that, I gained weight, and I'm sure there's insulin resistance involved somewhat in that. So much so that anytime I changed new doctors, because whether it was from high school to college to my career, and I moved to a different city, the first thing they want to know is like, are you sure you're a type 1? It's like, I'm sure I'm a type 1. This was my initial diagnosis story. And then I've had a C-peptide test, but I think I've had three C-peptide tests in my lifetime, because people just are not willing to, because, they look on the outside and just make an assumption, which, God bless them, right? God bless them. So I'm a type 1. And the weight, just gained and gained through high school, college, etc. So come around to 2011, there were some things that happened in my life that I just really wanted to choose to focus on myself. It was that time that I needed to really prioritize myself, as the saying goes, put on my own oxygen mask before I served others. And so I did decide at the top of January 2012 to join Weight Watchers. And I did join. That's when they had the Points Plus plan, which I think is the best plan. They should have never changed it. They'd probably still be a pretty awesome business if they never changed from that plan, but their choice, right? Anyway, I did the Points Plus plan, and soon after joining that, around March that time, I started doing Zumba. I started doing Zumba 3 days a week. I think I did, if I remember correctly, I think I did Monday, Wednesday, and then Saturdays I would do Zumba for 50 minutes each time. By the time my weight loss journey, or the primary part of my weight loss journey, and that I was doing Zumba fortified. I love Zumba. And I have a short that I showed the, before and after or whatever of that. And I would say within a year, I had lost 90 some pounds. And then, so by, January of 2013, I lost 90 some pounds, and then I went on to lose another, 10 or so pounds. And so, I will say that journey, I did not do maintenance well. I was asked to be a leader, so I started focusing on being a leader. And I'll be honest with you, I really should have just focused on maintenance. It's like, let me make sure I can actually maintain this for more than 2 weeks, right? Or 6 weeks, or whatever the case was. And I would say for a while I did. Soon, I would say a couple of years after that, because that was 2013. So by the next year we had moved, and that moved because of a job added a pretty significant to and from work commute to my life that I wasn't interested in doing stuff after work. By the time I left the house, it was somewhere around 5:30, and sometimes I didn't get home till 5:30 or 6:30, depending on if there was issues with the public transportation situation. And so by the time I got home, needed to enjoy my pets and my family and all the things. I wasn't interested in going out and doing workouts, right? And I even tried that at home. I tried the different online programs as it relates to Weight Watchers, and it never really clicked. I mean, I would say for the first couple of weeks I would be very successful, but it was not something I could stick to, just doing the program online or etc. So anyway, every year, I think since that time, since 2014, I probably gained, I would say 2015, gained 10 to 15 pounds, every year. So by the time 2025 hit, I went to go see, well, let me back up. So initially, I actually looked at the box because I finally did the proper disposal of the Trulicity box. So in August of 2022, my endocrinologist offered me Trulicity, but I was very hesitant. She got a prescription, got me the box, $25, life was good, right? Got the box the same day I saw her, and I so hesitant, like I said, so hesitant to take this because of all the things you hear about the nausea, the gastroparesis, all the things. I just wasn't interested in adding another, like a gastric condition to having to manage diabetes, right? By this point, in 2016, I was on the insulin pump, which changed my life. I do the Medtronic 780G, or now it's the 780G, but when I started, it was just their initial Medtronic, and that changed my life and how to manage the diabetes, along with a continuous glucose monitor. Those two things changed my life. Sorry about that. Changed my life pretty significantly, right? And so, I would say, again, so that was August of 2022. That was first off for Trulicity. Didn't want to do it, wasn't interested. I would say then again in somewhere about a year or so later, another endocrinologist, because I switched endocrinologists, they asked me this question again. It's like, we've got to do something about your weight loss, because with type 1 diabetes and many other types of diabetes that are out there, there are multiple types of diabetes. I'm going to do my best to always reference type 1 because that is what I'm diagnosed with. Why there are some similarities and things like that, the origin of the disease, some of the parameters around the disease and concerns, especially when it comes to what gets approved by the FDA, right? Are very specific to type 1s versus type 2s and some of the others, right? So I want to be very cognizant of making sure I say type 1, because that is my journey, my experience. And so, like I said, a year later, from 2022 to 2023, I was asked do I want to try one of these meds again? I said no, very hesitant. And then come around to July of 2025. And so I was at my highest at 292, and I'm pretty sure there were probably weeks and months ahead that I probably was above that. But as far as a record is concerned, I was 292 pounds, and my primary care is like, we've got to do something. It's like, I'm here to help your endocrinologist out, help you out. We have got to do something. I kind of went back and forth what my concerns were. I tried to do this, and he was kind of like, well, you've been trying to do X, Y, and Z. We've got to do something about this. And so July 10th of 2025, he first tried mounjaro, but of course the insurance, like, she's not type 2, denied it. So we tried Zepbound due to the BMI eligibility, and so I was prescribed the Zepbound. And I've been on, so I was 292 on July 10th, and by the time I took my first shot of Zepbound on July 16th, I was at 288.4. So I tend to use 288.4 as my starting weight, only because the 292, it was I had clothes on and all the things. It was at my doctor's office. I did not weigh myself that morning. I should have. I didn't think about it, right? Because I didn't know what the conversation was going to be about, so I didn't weigh myself. Anyway, so since July 16th, I've been on Zepbound. I will say, as far as kind of the first sort of things I noticed about it, I definitely felt, as sometimes I do, I think I called in one video, like a little party that happens when the Zepbound goes in. I definitely felt after the injection, it came in, it went in. And, I felt it, and I definitely felt sort of the suppression, things of that nature, the satiety, the first couple of meals, I had I'm pretty sure I had a protein smoothie that morning. And, I definitely, I didn't feel like the need for a snack and all those other things. I will say, as far as, my type 1 goes, it was almost felt immediately, because I did not, even though someone had told me, go ahead and, whether it's cut in half or cut, the amount of insulin you take by some, I did not do that. And I completely, I know the function of the drug, that it's slowing down that digestive process and things like that. And I did not prep myself and change my bolus for my diet, for my morning meal. And I dropped pretty severe. I was getting close to the high, like the 46 somewhere. I remember it going to like the 54s, and then I think it even hit 46. And so I did have to make that adjustment and everything. I'm going to pause real quick because my husband's on the ATV and it's making lots of noise. So I had to take a pause. I went ahead and put the girls away and everything, because it's like girls and roosters, I keep forgetting. And so I put them up. But so like I said, July 16th is when I started. I did have some issues, like I said, because I did not update. Well, I shouldn't say updated my settings, but I did not adjust my bolus and even the basal rate and things like that on my insulin pump to deal with the fact that, this medication slows the digestion process, which again decreases the amount of carbs and everything that's in your body. And so that insulin is out there. It's like you just bolus for yourself, and that insulin is ready to, do stuff with the carbs and all the things that it brings into the cell. And there's nothing for it because it hasn't been broken down yet. So on July 18th, I sent a message to my endocrinologist, I have a wonderful care team. So provided my primary and my endocrinologist with my current dosage, which was 2.5 of the Zepbound, and then provided my insulin pump readings for the last 48 hours. And so my endocrinologist was able to make those adjustments. And since then, it's been the most wondrous journey I've ever, in a weird way, experienced, because it's been so stable. My insulin and, being able to look at my pump and seeing this solid line across of, whether, things I'm eating, things if I'm at activity, my cardio and strength training, not having to adjust it, do a temp basal to make it increase. So it's just that I can do like 30 minutes of cardio, so it's down to normal by the time. But, I can start at a 112, do my 30 minutes of activity, and somehow still be at 116. I'm not having to, make all these crazy adjustments just to get a workout in. And that's been, that's been an amazing experience. And, I don't know how to explain that as a type 1, to just not have to worry about what your blood sugar is doing. Now, I will say this one thing I'm noticing, and it's probably been, I would say recently, since I've been on the 5.0, I will say day 5, even though there's a good amount of the Zepbound and things like that still in your body on day, I would say 6, day 6 or 7, somewhere in there, maybe let's say midday, day 5 through the top of 7. There's still a good amount of Zepbound or the tirzepatide in your body. I have noticed there are times I feel like on those days that And maybe it's because the food is not as slow as slow to digest on the other days, that my blood sugar might go into the 30s or 40s. And so I just manage it, treat it, do the correction bolus, do the things I need to do, or just let the monitor do this job. I mean, oftentimes, the monitor is checking my blood sugar, or the continuous glucose monitor along with my pump. They're checking my blood sugar every 5 minutes. And if it needs to be I do my target range at 100 mg over DL. And so, it's making those adjustments to get my blood sugar down on its own. It has an autocorrect feature. It even has a skip bolus feature. If I happen to eat something and did not bolus for it, like it's like, oh, you're spiking pretty high. You may have eaten some carbs and did not account for it, did not bolus. So it will do a correction on that, aside from the smaller corrections that it's trying to make. So it's just been an amazing experience. I thought I would have more to talk about of how this was impacting, I shouldn't say in a negative or positive way, how it was impacting my type 1 diabetes management, and it's impacted it greatly. I don't necessarily want to get into the science and what my theories are here, because that's not what this channel is about. And it's something I would want to, have a conversation with my doctor about before I kind of just, here are my thoughts on something, right? But it's just kind of, understanding how the medication works and how insulin works, and those things feel like I'm confident to speak on. It is doing the job of stabilizing blood sugar because of how it's allowing the carbohydrates to digest slower. So it has a great impact. So some of the other early symptoms, I would say, the next day after I woke up, the reduced inflammation, the reduction of pain, all those things occurred, right? And all those wonderful, wonderful things occurred. And so, I would say days before, where I was struggling to wake up, get to the living room to do my exercises, I just had this newfound energy. So I went from barely getting in to 30-minute sessions a week to every morning I'm waking up doing something. I try to prioritize. I try to hit my 150 minutes of cardiovascular a week. And so I'll do 30 minutes of something, whether it's a HIIT workout or a Zumba, which is my favorite, or just a walking. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I try to do anywhere from, 25 minutes to 30 minutes of strength training. And then there are days that I do strength training, even on my cardio days. And of course, I've been doing the squat challenge, the plank challenge. And I think there's another one, She is Tamika is having us do the wall challenge next. And so I do those challenges, and they're great because one thing I remember about when I lost weight before was the amount of energy I had, the amount of confidence I had in my body to do things that I wanted and needed my body to do, whether it was, climbing, to sites and things when I was traveling to Italy, or, traveling to just parts of the country and being able to, do proper hikes and all those things. I remember that feeling, and it's a feeling that I want to have again in my body to accomplish those tasks. And so that's very important to me. And so strength training and doing cardiovascular things are very important to me. So my journey along the way, and I've posted it before, is I do tend to focus, like I don't have this end date in mind. I have an idea of, just based on the last couple of months, right, of idea how long it will take to get here, but I don't live in that end date, right? Because anything can happen, stresses can come, insurance can stop covering, all these things could happen. So I can't spend days stressing over this timeline of when this weight loss goal or this goal weight needs to happen. And one thing, if I learned from my experience with Weight Watchers when I did that before, is that weight can be lost. Our bodies with this excess weight, whatever the tools are we're using to get there, right? And there's many tools out there to get to that. That is a milestone in this bigger thing called life, right? So I don't put this timeline, because once I hit that, I'm moving on to focusing on maintenance, because I did not do that before. And that's something I want to focus on, is focusing on maintenance. So anyway, and I'll post it. I did it as a short, but I'll post again, from July 16th to last Wednesday, which I should know what last Wednesday was. Oh, it's awful. Because today's the 10th, so 9, I think it was, let's see, it should be the, let's see, 9, last Wednesday should have been the 7th, right? Let's go with that. Yeah, so I'm down 32 pounds, for, 13 weeks, 32 pounds. I will say, like I said, I tend to focus on my 5% goals. So I'm a little bit over. I've 5% of weight loss is what I tend to focus on. And so that I hit my first 5% goal at the end of, I want to say, end of August, and then I hit my next 5% goal towards kind of the end of September. And so I have been able to achieve, at least, like I said, it's about 11.1% of total weight loss since starting. And so, and I do the 5% at each milestone just because it's digestible, right? It's a digestible number. It's eating an elephant one bite at a time, so to speak. And it's a SMART goal in a way, right? And so, we have our SMART goals as specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and typically the T is time bound. And so for me, I'm focusing on things that are attainable and realistic and specific, a 5% goal, right? And so that's where I tend to live, the world I live in, and I focus on. And I'm not going to stress about when I get there. The other thing of why I do the 5% goal is quite simply because 5% at 288 is very different than 5% at 188. And then I don't get upset about how many pounds I lost in a month, because it's going to be different as I lose more weight. Because again, this is excess weight that we're losing from our bodies, and the percentage of excess weight will go down that needs to be lost. And so the expectation that I should lose the same pounds every month, it's unrealistic for me. And so that's why I don't live in this world of, I need to do 10 by this month, 10 this month, 10 that month, because it's not realistic. So, because it's not how our body functions. I have had weeks, and I'll make sure to, while I'm in this section, kind of show kind of the progression. I've had weeks where there's been a gain. I've not hit a stall yet. It will happen. I hit stalls on Weight Watchers more than once. I had significant gains on when I did Weight Watchers more than once. It's how our bodies function. And then if I don't do it, then that's just, it's nothing magical. The things I do show the meals that I eat in the day. I do eat 3 meals a day, even if my breakfast is usually going to be just because it's faster and easier to eat. And I'm ready. By the time I'm ready to get up and doing things, I need to check care of the chickens. I'm hopefully do stuff in the garden soon. So I kind of want to get out when the heat is not as intense, and so I tend to do a protein smoothie. So I do the Premier Protein. I add flaxseed to it. I'll add a glucerna or usually a glucerna to it. 2 scoops of the Premier Protein, 2 tablespoons of the flaxseed. I'll add to it, and then I'll add some berry blend, so blueberry, raspberry, blackberry, because it's high in fiber. So I do try to manage the amount of fiber that I'm hitting, that 25 grams of fiber, if not more. And then usually, because of the protein smoothie and what we do, try to do a lot of, we cook here. We don't do, but we do have processed food in the house. So we're not anti-processed food, but the majority of our meals throughout the week will be made from whole foods. Again, when the garden's going, we're trying to use a lot of those vegetables. Typically when meat's on sale, we'll get it on sale, smoke it in the pellet grill, and then we'll use break up the meat, put it in a food saver bag, stuff like that. So we have it to use for other meals. And so we tend to eat a lot of whole meals. I've shared that. I eat my pasta. Again, I make my pasta from scratch. And so it's eggs and whole wheat flour, eggs and semolina flour. And so it's a high protein. Either way, it's high protein pasta that I'll make and use that. And we do try to throw a lot of vegetables in our food. As far as supplements, I if you want to call vitamin, so I do vitamin D, and I do I feel like, is there another? Yeah, I do vitamin D. And that's probably about the only vitamin that I do. And that's just based on labs. I'm not anti-supplements, anti-vitamins. It's just as at this time, that's the only vitamin that I'm deficient in. And so that's what I take. And then I do have medicine for blood pressure, cholesterol. And then and I do have an appointment in November. So I'm curious to see what those numbers will be. But even if they're good, I'm more than likely going to stay on them for another 6 months or a year. Because the reality of weight loss is weight loss, but genetics are genetics. And so there could be, I could eat the right things, lose the weight, and still may need those things. So I'm gonna stay on those until, my doctor tells me I don't need to stay on them. And I do, just to help, because I do experience constipation on this particular drug. And so, but not often, it's not every day. Typically, what I do to just help sort of, I'd say prevent it or treat it, if you will. Like on the first day of my shot, I'll do some Miralax, and then probably about day 5 I'll do Miralax, and I just get my water in. I'm trying to follow the sage advice from Harjarine Annette at DeBoss Way. She gets 2 16-ounce bottles of water first thing in the morning. I've been doing that for the last couple of days, and that's helped. That's helped with a lot of things as far as constipation is concerned. So just trying to get those good practices of water, getting your fiber, getting the protein, and then just eating. Again, I'm not anti-processed. I literally buy the Just Bare chicken nuggets and some of those things. And I think I got some Parmesan chips today from the store because I like them. They're tasty. And they give me that crunch that I need sometimes. And so, so I do those things, like I said, but most of the big meals, main meals are going to be from Whole Foods. And I just think Whole Foods are cheaper. Is the expense with Whole Foods is your time. So that's the trade-off, right? Processed foods are going to be more convenient, but they're going to be more expensive. Whereas Whole Foods, at least where I shop, I can't speak for others. And again, we do have a garden. We do get eggs. Like I have, I think, 10 eggs from the chickens today. We do get those things, and so that helps with cost. But we buy Whole Foods and then break it down and feed a family of 3. I do my meal prep on Sundays, and that gets us through typically Thursday, if not Friday. Like there's still stuff from last week that we're eating today. It'll probably be the last of it, but we're eating it today. And so that's what I focus on. Trying to think. So I talked about the exercises I do. I talk about sort of the meals. Y'all have seen some of those. And that's pretty much it. I don't, at this time in my journey, there has not been a need to do anything outside of those things that I mentioned. It's not to say there won't come a time that I do them, but it's not something that is a part of my priority right now. So that's my journey. This is already getting to 30 minutes, but I do want to do a better job of sharing more throughout the week of the decisions I'm making, the things I'm doing, so that, because I want to make sure if there are lessons to be learned on my part, right, from y'all, and there are things you can learn from my journey, I want to make sure I'm sharing those things. But it's getting kind of dark. Not that bad. I'm being kind of dramatic here, but the sun's definitely going down. I think the chickens are roosting. I may do a quick clip of them roosting so y'all can see them. and then that will be kind of it. But I hope this was helpful. If there are questions, I do encourage you to throw them down in the comment. I will be happy to answer them either in the comments or in another video like this. If you've been curious about things, please ask. I'll be happy to answer those things. But that's my journey. Like I said, I'll make sure to add, because I need to get fancier with my videos, so I'll make sure to add kind of the months, the weight loss journey months and things like that. And I haven't had to change my insulin settings since the 2 days after I started, that July 18th date. I'll be kind of curious when my endocrinologist will want to change them again. It's going to be sort of based on what I'm experiencing typically, but I have not had a need to make a change in my insulin pump settings again. So far so good, but I'll keep y'all updated. But I'm gonna go. I'll let y'all see the chickens roosting, and then I'll call it a call, so to speak. So stand by. Roosting. They kind of become completely blind at night, so they're kind of all looking. But this is them. They kind of tend to poke at each other for whatever reason. But say goodnight, and that's them all roosted. But again, thank y'all for listening, and hope everyone has a great evening. Bye-bye.